Hello, Shalom Ola. Welcome to the Spiritual Life by mystic psychic medium Travis Tidwell. That's me. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is episode number 4. Again, this Spiritual Life is a platform for me to use my spiritual organization, Sacred Dragon Philosophy, as a platform to get my philosophy out there with the public and give everybody here a new flavor to work with for receiving Yahweh and the Holy and Divine Spirit and empowerment through many, many different forms. We're here to talk about enlightenment with the spiritual life as well as empowerment. In our previous episodes, as well as into the intro, if you've seen episode 1, 2, or 3, I have been making a point to talk about the Adam and Eve consciousness, which is what we're living in. I mean, there's been other consciousnesses here before us, obviously, and there's different starseeds here besides us who have their own gods and goddesses and philosophies, and not philosophy, but history. You know, mythology is not something that's made out of fairy tales. It's the culture's real history. So these are things that we have to become more conscious of. Living in Adam and Eve consciousness, really brings the big dysfunction of relationship here for us. And in the spiritual life, you really more design yourself to have a relationship, but the first relationship you cultivate is yourself. That is part of the spiritual life, is learning how to love yourself more and making the right decisions. In our last episode, we talked about us being starseeds, and there is a universal belief system. Metaphysics kind of brings in that universal belief system in some aspect, because when you look at a crystal, here's a black crystal ball. I have a black crystal obsidian ball in my hand. Beautiful ball. Got it from Jack Simon. For those of you who want to buy crystals out here in San Diego, we got a guy. You can email me at Travis Tidwell Podcast at gmail.com, and I'll give you the guy's phone number, and you can make an appointment. But yeah, this black obsidian, if we took this to the Amazon people, where they have shamans, or if we take this to Africa or Russia or any part of the world, the virtues and properties of this stone doesn't change. This is universal truth right here. This is something that is universal. You can't take that from that stone. And what created that stone? Mother Earth and Yahweh, our divine source, the formless one who has many names, who has self-manifested all things. And there's such a variety of spiritualities out here today. I'm passive to a degree. I mean, again, in Sacred Dragon Philosophy, we live by the 10 Commandments. And the 10 Commandments need to be really looked at by everybody. We don't believe in Christianity per se, because Christ is an energy, it's not a person. And that's another show. But tonight we're here to talk about choosing a system of belief as a star child and looking at results of what the belief system is producing for you. Because, first of all, Sacred Dragon Philosophy says, if you're doing something and it feels good, and that's really about it. If it feels good, then you should be doing it. That's the first step. And then once it's feeling good, if it's made sense and it's producing something now, then you're onto something. But if it feels good but it's not doing anything for you, really, it's not changing your life, it's not empowering you in some way, then it's not working. There's a lot of spiritual people out there who are enlightened, who just had their awakenings. They go, wow, I just woke up. The whole universe is alive, and I want to join my spiritual path, but I don't know what to do. Email me. But really, there's a lot of different philosophies, a lot of different systems to look at. We have to go back to the Adam and Eve consciousness, because once Adam and Eve were conscious, let's say, because they didn't know they had a physical body until their Kundalini energy was activated. So their root chakras were activated. They figured out they had genitals, they had passion and desires and erections and all this other stuff going on, in their physical body. And so, as it says in the story of what we've been raised on in the Adam and Eve consciousness, that God said, hey, look, now that you've eaten from the tree of good and evil, now go back to that garden and eat from the tree of knowledge, the tree of life. Because that will be a medicine for the balance of good and evil, or for negative positive, or for black and white, or for negative or, receptive masculine. I mean, or electric. I mean, however you want to balance that out. We live in a duality of universe here. Everything is yin and yang, negative positive, male female. Without male female, we can't even create. So we also know that our divine source, even though it's a very patriotic type of system, that Yahweh, in the word Yahweh is the word Eve. I Eve, and in the word Yahweh is the feminine. It takes masculine, feminine to create. You can't do it with just one. It takes both, and we all have both in us because of that reason. Going back on this episode, choosing some kind of a belief system to start. There's a lot of things out there. I always refer Simplified Kabbalah Magic by Ted Andrews to my students and people who study with me or have studied with me. As a basic rule of thumb to read, to understand where I'm at with my consciousness, because I am a starseed, I am a son of Yahweh, and I promote that and I live that. But to be spiritual doesn't mean that you're not going to have anger, or you're not going to have sadness, or maybe even depression. What that means is that you're going to process it quicker, and you're going to have compassion for the right people, and you're going to have understanding for the right people. But the people who are toxic in your life, you're not going to have that for. Being spiritual is just not all happy, happy, joy, joy. It's work. And it takes time to develop your spirituality. And in each episode, I want to give each one of you listeners out there something to do to help create a spiritual life for yourself. And that's the other reason why I have this platform going on, because this show is dedicated for you, the listeners, to create a spiritual life. I mean, I pray every day. I've got prayers from the Dead Sea Scrolls that we use, which are over 2,000 years old, in Sacred Dragon. It goes like, I am that I am is the first law, which is one of God's sacred names. When Moses went back to God the second time and said, hey, I told my friends about you, what's your name? He says, why, Moses, I am that I am. Second law for Sacred Dragon is, as it is above, it is below. Which means that, even here as well as up there, there's opinionated energies. Chaos at times, a struggle. Many things are going on in the universe. And the third law for Sacred Dragon is anything first created is true and lives forever. Anything secondly created is dissolvable, corruptible, changeable, which at some point means that my spiritual body lives forever unless I've damaged my soul. And my physical body is dissolvable, corruptible, changeable. And in today's society, your physical body is dissolvable, corruptible, changeable. Look at all the plastic surgery and face stuff people get today, and changing their bodies. And so, even take the spirit of that tree, walk outside, see the spirit of that tree. The spirit of that tree will live forever, really, seriously. That tree, dissolvable, corruptible, changeable, boom. That's how that's working in spirituality. And that comes from the Emerald Tablet, which was written by Hermes Trismegistus. Mercurius Trismegistus, who's also known as the god Mercury, who's my personal spirit guide, and also really the founder of Sacred Dragon. Sacred Dragon is an offshoot of the divine Poimandor, which was in Egypt about 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, and that was called a school for shepherds, and that's what my organization is. It's a school for masters. Everybody who trains under me becomes a master. My top priestess right now is a psychic for a living, which is what I am. I'm a mystic psychic medium, just like my title says, as well as a philosopher and a ceremonial magician and a Reiki master healer, and I do psychic surgery, and I mean, the list goes on. You need it, I can do it virtually. But going back to this episode number 4, we see as star children here that there's many different philosophies now. Hinduism's out there. You've got Jehovah's Witnesses, you've got Mormons, you've got Catholics, you've got many strains of Christianity, from holding snakes in their hands to speaking in tongues there's a variety of flavors out there. Really, God doesn't care what you pick as long as you pick something, but we feel who are spiritual that religion is very close-minded and will block you from growing. In the first commandment, it says, thou shalt not worship no gods before me. So for those of you who are putting Jesus before God, or in God's violation of his first law, and I don't really believe that's fair. In Sacred Dragon, we have Christ and Moses. But going back to, again, choosing a system of belief or a system of metaphysics, you need to make sure that it has a good, solid foundation. And for us here, and for me personally, as well as professionally, if it don't have Yahweh or God in it, it doesn't mean anything. I'm a medium for a living. I do communicate with the dead. I prove that with my clients, and that's real. Heaven's real. There is a God. And when you start thinking there's not, you're slipping in your life, and you need to start thinking about this life doesn't last forever. You know, it's just like Jim Morrison said, man. 1 to 5 and 5 to 1, 5 to 1, 1 to 5. No one gets out alive. I mean, come on. You got to start thinking about your soul, where you're going with life besides money and your materialism. And that's where the spiritual life again comes in. I'm spiritual, but yeah, I got a car. It's got a Harley. I mean, I'm being honest. I mean, I'm not saying I'm materialistic, but yeah, I like having things too. I'm not going to walk the streets barefoot. It's not like Samuel Jackson in Pulp Fiction. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the movie, if you guys are out there. But anyway, and in the spiritual life too, we love all the gods and goddesses. I mean, yeah, I worship Yahweh as my main God. Once I honor Yahweh, I can talk to any god I want or goddess, and I talk to a lot of them. But it really doesn't matter really what star system you pick or belief system, as long as it's working for you and you're getting some kind of results. Now, if you're listening to this podcast and you've tried different systems of metaphysics or magic, ceremonial magic or Wicca or something that didn't work for you, then I'm the go-to guy for you most likely. Because in my philosophy and in my system of belief, we have the Christ in one hand and we have Moses in the other, and we acknowledge them both. Because not only do we need the love and compassion for the right people, but we also need the strength and severity from God to cut loose the bad people. Because there are people who would take your kindness as a weakness or your love as a weakness. There are people who are just manipulators and liars. And once they've been exposed to you and you know where you're at, then at that point, you need to make some changes for yourself. That's also how you create a spiritual life, because then you can start getting rid of your drama. Now, I want to take a break here and also just mention real quickly that my man makeover, my hair and stuff, is done by Shelly at Rose's Salon in Coronado. And I want to give props to everybody out there. Shelly does a great job. For all you men out there that never had your hair colored or you don't take care of yourself that way, think about it. Image is everything with attitude. It's how you live your life, not how you die, okay? Also, at this point, I want to promote my album called Travis Tidwell. Time Has Come. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Pandora. Check it out. It's cutting edge spiritual music with some great beats. It's created by my son and myself. We also have another podcast we're sitting on called Travis Tidwell Mystic Psychic Medium. Like I said, which will be developing your psychic skills. I'll be doing mediumship work on that program and other things of that nature. On this program here, my email is TravisTidwellPodcast@gmail.com. And here's what I'm offering right now. First of all, we're looking at getting a Patreon account. And I'm going to mention that now because as the podcast goes on, a Patreon account might become available for us where we could actually take your donations and you could help support our program if you're benefiting from it. Now, also, too, we're going to be looking for premium subscribers. And this is where I would spend more time in a podcast with you and give you step-by-step instructions for programming crystals or choosing a crystal or making a crystal elixir or developing your psyche or things of that nature. I'm very talented and I do this for a living, so this isn't something I just talk about. Also, too, at some point, there's going to be an opportunity for you to email me at TravisTidwellPodcast@gmail.com and ask me one question, which I'll answer either email or on the channel. And I'll share that. We'll have stuff coming up here in the future episodes about how to cleanse your home and keep your home clear. We're going to be doing some blogging coming up here in the future, YouTube. I'm a Reiki master and I do psychic surgery. My daughter here, who's also a priestess in Sacred Dragons, a Reiki master also herself. So, anything you can do to elevate your consciousness is going to help you in your spiritual life. So tonight, excuse me, I would like to share a prayer with you, which you could use to benefit yourself. And it comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And it's When you say this prayer, you'll say it 7 times to yourself. Angel of life, enter my limbs and give the strength of life to my whole body. Angel of life, enter my limbs and give the strength of life to my whole body. Angel of life, enter my limbs and give the strength of life to my whole body. Angel of life, enter my limbs and give the strength of life to my whole body. Angel of life, enter my limbs and give the strength of life to my whole body. And take a moment to visualize this beautiful giant angel coming into your body, your limbs, and strengthening you and raising your vibration. Because these are the things that you're going to have to do to become spiritual and empower yourself. So be it. Amen. That's just one of the things that you can start doing during the week for yourself, to empower yourself, to make yourself feel stronger physically, spiritually, mentally. If you're not doing a daily prayer with your divine source, shame on you. If you want to email me at TravisTidwellPodcast@gmail.com with your date of birth, I'll tell you who your assigned angel is. And then you can say, okay, all my angels come close to me now. My angel's Ariel. Okay, all my angels come close to me now. Angel Ariel, that includes you. Okay, angels and Ariel, this is why I called you today. And you tell your angel what it is you want. You need to start talking to your angels. In fact, all my angels come close to me now. And this is what I want would be the prayer for you now if you don't know who your assigned angel is. Or if you're intuitive and you feel this angel Michael's with you, or Raphael, or whoever it is, then call upon them. Don't be shy. So, on that note, I guess we'll close the podcast tonight. Again, think about the system that you're working with. If you are working with one, remember everything's a flavor, and whatever you are doing is supposed to be a medicine for you to have balance. And if you're looking for that balance, keep tuning into my podcasts. Contact me. I can work with you one-on-one. I'm a teacher, mentor, life coach. I have, success already in my life with people, changing their lives and changing their destinies. You want to change your life, change your destiny? Text me, email me, TravisTidwellPodcast@gmail.com. On that note, again, I'd like to remind everybody that I have an album out called Travis Tidwell, Time Has Come. If you listen to the song Powers of the Kingdom, it's a Solomon prayer, and it will empower you. Angel Gabriel's song is The Bomb. And again, I want to thank everybody out there. First, I want to thank my executive producer. He's really been kind of quiet tonight. We really haven't even chatted, really. We weren't sure if we're going to get this podcast off tonight, but it's done. And again, I want to thank all my listeners out there. And I want to thank all the people who are sacred dragons out there. And I wish everybody many, many blessings by Yahweh and the Holy and Divine Spirit and Sacred Dragon. And God bless you, your families, your pets, your loved ones, your children, everybody. Bless the whole planet. Amen. So be it.